The Silent Watchers. Captain Elena Vasquez stood motionless on the command deck of the U.S. Phoenix Rising, her dark eyes fixed on the massive holographic display that showed the emptiness of deep space. The ship drifted silently through the void, completely invisible to every scanning system known to galactic civilization. For 6 months, they had been watching a war that was consuming entire star systems, and Vasquez felt the weight of every civilian death on her shoulders. The Phoenix Rising was humanity's most advanced vessel, built with technology that most alien species couldn't even imagine. While other races focused on bigger guns and thicker armor, human engineers had chosen a different path. They had created a ship that could bend light around itself, phase through solid matter, and strike with weapons that operated on principles the galaxy had never seen. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission from the Altair sector," announced Lieutenant Maria Torres from her communication station. Her voice carried the strain of months spent listening to distress calls they couldn't answer. "The Kethvar Empire just finished their assault on the mining colonies. Casualty reports are coming in now." Vasquez closed her eyes for a moment. The Altair colonies were peaceful settlements where families had gone to build new lives. They had no military installations, no strategic value, nothing that should have made them targets in this war. But the Kethvar didn't care about such distinctions. "Put it on the main screen," Vasquez ordered quietly. The holographic display flickered to life, showing scenes that made the entire bridge crew fall silent. Burning cities stretched across multiple worlds, their lights fading one by one as the destruction spread. Civilian transport ships fled desperately through space, only to be hunted down by Kethvar interceptors, like predators chasing wounded prey. Commander Marcus Chen, the ship's tactical officer, shook his head in disgust. His military background had prepared him for combat, but not for the systematic slaughter of innocents. "Those aren't soldiers down there, Captain. Those are just families trying to survive." Dr. Sarah Al-Rahman, the chief science officer, looked up from her quantum analysis console with tears in her eyes. The refugee ship that just exploded was carrying approximately 3,000 people. Men, women, children, all trying to escape to neutral space. Vasquez had seen enough. She turned away from the display, but the images remained burned in her memory. This war between the Kethvar Empire and the Zolthak Confederation had been raging for 3 years, and it kept spreading to involve innocent worlds that wanted nothing to do with either side. "Turn it off," she said softly. The bridge returned to its normal darkness, showing only the distant stars, but everyone could still feel the weight of what they had witnessed. The two alien empires seemed determined to destroy anything that might potentially aid their enemy, even if it meant murdering millions of neutral civilians. "Captain, incoming priority transmission from Earth Command," Torres announced. "It's Admiral Harrison. Classification level Omega." Vasquez straightened. Admiral James Harrison had been her mentor during her early years in the space service, and Omega-level transmissions meant that humanity's leadership had made a decision that would change everything. "Put him through on the secure channel," Vasquez ordered. The screen flickered, and Admiral Harrison appeared. He was a tall man with silver hair and the kind of steady presence that inspired confidence in everyone around him. But today, Vasquez could see exhaustion and anger in his weathered features. "Belina, I'm afraid I have news that will change everything," Harrison began without preamble. "Our diplomatic mission to both alien empires has failed completely. Ambassador Rodriguez spent 6 months trying to establish communication with their leadership, but neither side will even acknowledge our existence as a legitimate interstellar power." Vasquez nodded grimly. She had expected this outcome. "What did they tell our ambassador exactly, Admiral?" Harrison's expression grew darker. "The Kethvar told Ambassador Rodriguez that humans are primitive insects who should remain in their tiny corner of the galaxy. The Zolthak were even more dismissive, calling us barely evolved mammals who have no right to interfere in affairs between real civilizations." Commander Chen looked up from his station. "Admiral, What about our offer to provide humanitarian aid to the refugee populations? Rejected by both sides. Harrison replied. They informed us that any human vessel found in contested space will be destroyed without warning. They don't want our help, and they've made it clear that they consider us beneath their notice. Dr. Al-Rahman leaned forward. Sir, if they're dismissing us so completely, why are we still monitoring their conflict? Harrison's expression became deadly serious. Because 3 days ago, both empires made a decision that crossed a line we cannot ignore. They've begun attacking human settlements. The bridge fell completely silent. Everyone knew what this meant. 4 of our outer colonies have been hit, Harrison continued. The Kethvar claimed our research station at Proxima 7 was providing intelligence to the Zolthak. The Zolthak accused our agricultural world of New Kenya of supplying food to Kethvar forces. Both accusations were completely false. Vasquez felt ice forming in her stomach. Admiral, how many casualties? 2,437 people, Harrison replied, his voice heavy with grief, including the entire crew of the medical transport ship Mercy Garden. They were carrying supplies to help epidemic victims on Ta CD3. Lieutenant Torres gasped. Everyone in the space service knew about the Mercy Garden. It was a hospital ship that traveled between human colonies, bringing medical care to settlements that couldn't afford their own facilities. The crew were doctors, nurses, and medical technicians who had dedicated their lives to helping others. Chief Petty Officer Kowalski, the ship's chief engineer, slammed his fist against his console. They killed medical personnel, doctors and nurses who were trying to save lives. Vasquez felt the familiar cold anger building inside her, but she kept her voice steady. Admiral, what are our orders? Harrison leaned forward on the screen. The Human Colonial Council has made its decision, Elena. We tried diplomacy. We tried neutrality. We tried to provide humanitarian aid. None of it worked, and now they're targeting our civilian populations. He paused, looking directly at each person visible on the bridge. Both alien empires think humans are weak because we prefer negotiation to warfare. They believe we can't fight because we choose to avoid fighting. They're about to learn the difference between being unable to fight and choosing not to fight. Vasquez straightened in her command chair. Are we going to war, Admiral? We're already at war, Captain. They started it when they began killing our civilians. But we're going to finish it. Harrison's voice carried the weight of humanity's collective determination. For too long, other species have assumed that because humans prefer peace, we must be incapable of effective warfare. It's time to show the galaxy why that assumption is dangerous. Commander Chen looked up from his tactical display. Sir, are we talking about limited engagement protocols or full military response? Harrison didn't hesitate. Full military response, Commander. Both empires have made it clear that they see humanity as weak and irrelevant. They've rejected every peaceful overture and begun systematically murdering our people. Show them what happens when you force humans to abandon diplomacy. Vasquez felt a fierce smile growing on her face. For months, she had watched these aliens destroy innocent lives while claiming to be the superior species. Now they would learn what human ingenuity and determination could accomplish when unleashed. Understood, Admiral. When do we begin? Immediately. Intelligence reports indicate that a Kethvar hunting fleet is moving toward the Vega system. 42 ships, including some of their newest heavy cruisers. They're planning to attack the civilian evacuation convoy that's been gathering refugees from the outer colonies. Commander Chen checked his instruments. Captain, if we push our quantum drives to maximum, we can reach Vega in 14 hours. The convoy won't last that long against a fleet that size. Dr. Al-Rahman observed, running calculations on her console. Vasquez stood and walked to the center of the bridge. Then we'll have to make sure the Kethvar fleet doesn't reach them. She turned to face her crew. Ladies and gentlemen, for 6 months we've watched aliens tear apart innocent worlds while claiming to be the superior species. Today, we show them what human superiority actually looks like. Flores looked up from her communications station. Captain, should I inform the convoy about our mission? Negative. We maintain radio silence until this is over. Vasquez walked back to her command chair. Chief Kowalski, I want all systems at maximum efficiency. We're going to need every advantage our technology can give us. Already working on it, Captain, Kowalski replied. Our quantum displacement systems are functioning perfectly, and the temporal shields are at full capacity. Dr. Al Rahman turned from her science station. Captain, should I prepare the gravitational lance for combat deployment? Vasquez smiled. The gravitational lance was humanity's most advanced weapon, capable of creating localized distortions in space-time that could tear apart any known material. The aliens had never seen anything like it, because humans had never been forced to use it in anger. Prepare all weapons systems, Doctor. Today, the Kethvar learn why it's dangerous to threaten human civilians. The U.S. Phoenix Rising changed course, its quantum drives pushing it toward the Vega system at speeds that defied conventional physics. Behind them, the war between two alien empires continued to rage, consuming worlds and destroying civilizations. But ahead of them waited a Kethvar fleet that was about to discover what happened when humanity decided to stop watching and start acting. Captain Vasquez looked at the tactical display showing their destination. Somewhere in that system, innocent people were fleeing for their lives while alien warships closed in for the kill. The aliens thought humans were weak because they preferred peace. They thought humans couldn't fight because they chose diplomacy over violence. In a few hours, 42 Kethvar warships would learn the most important lesson in galactic history. There is a vast difference between being unable to fight and simply choosing not to fight. And when humans finally chose to fight, the galaxy would never be the same. The Phoenix unleashed. The U.S. Phoenix Rising dropped out of quantum space at the edge of the Vega system, completely invisible to every sensor array the Kethvar Empire had ever developed. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on her bridge, watching the tactical display that showed 42 alien warships closing in on a desperate convoy of human refugee ships. Report, Vasquez ordered calmly. Commander Chen's fingers flew over his tactical console. Kethvar fleet is 2 hours from intercept, Captain. They're maintaining standard Predator formation, with their heavy cruisers leading and destroyers spread out to prevent escape. Lieutenant Torres looked up from communications. Captain, I'm monitoring their internal transmissions. They're laughing about how easy this will be. They're calling it pest control and making bets about how quickly they can destroy all the civilian ships. Vasquez felt her jaw tighten. The convoy consisted of passenger liners, cargo freighters, and transport ships carrying families who had lost everything in this war. Most were farmers, teachers, engineers, and children who wanted nothing more than safe passage to neutral space. Dr. Al Rahman, status on our advanced systems? Vasquez asked. The science officer smiled with quiet confidence. Quantum displacement drive is functioning perfectly, Captain. We can now move through normal space in ways that will completely confuse their targeting systems. The temporal shields are online, and the gravitational lance is charged and ready. Chief Kowalski grinned from his engineering station. Captain, I've made some improvements to our stealth systems. Even if they get lucky and detect us somehow, their weapons won't be able to lock onto us. Vasquez nodded. The Phoenix Rising represented the pinnacle of human engineering, built using scientific principles that the warring alien empires had never encountered. While they focused on brute force and overwhelming firepower, humanity had chosen precision, innovation, and adaptability. Commander Chen, remind me how our weapons compare to theirs, Vasquez said. Chen brought up a comparative analysis on the main screen. Their technology is impressive but predictable, Captain. Big guns, thick armor, powerful energy shields. They build everything to overpower their enemies through superior force. Dr. Al Rahman pointed to her scientific readouts. Our gravitational lance can create localized space-time distortions that their shields cannot stop. Their armor is designed to absorb energy impacts, but it's useless against weapons that attack the fundamental structure of matter itself. And our quantum torpedoes? Vasquez asked. They phase through normal matter until they reach their target's core systems, Chen replied. Their shields might as well not exist. We can destroy their largest ships with a single precisely placed shot. The tactical display showed the Kethvar fleet continuing its approach toward the refugee convoy. Vasquez could see from their formation that they planned to surround the civilian ships and destroy them systematically, probably while recording the slaughter for propaganda purposes. Torres, open a channel to the Kethvar fleet commander, Vasquez ordered. Channel open, Captain. Vasquez's voice carried across space with calm authority. Kethvar fleet, this is Captain Elena Vasquez of the U.S. Phoenix Rising. You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately and cease your attack on civilian vessels. The response came back quickly, filled with arrogant laughter. The voice belonged to War Commander Thekvar, whose reputation for cruelty was known throughout this region of space. What human insect dares to challenge the might of the Kethvar Empire? Show yourself, coward, so we can add your pathetic ship to our collection of trophies. Other alien voices joined in, mocking humanity's intervention. Humans are the weakest species in the galaxy. They run away from every real fight. After we destroy these refugees, we'll hunt down every human colony we can find. The galaxy will be cleaner without your inferior race. Vasquez had heard enough. She looked at her crew, seeing the determination in every face. These people had joined the space service to explore the galaxy and protect human interests, but they had found themselves watching a war that consumed innocent lives, while powerful aliens claimed superiority through brutality. Chen, drop our stealth field. Show them what they're really facing. The U.S. Phoenix Rising appeared on every Kethvar sensor simultaneously. The alien fleet suddenly found themselves confronting a vessel unlike anything in their military databases. The Phoenix Rising was sleek where their ships were bulky, elegant where theirs were crude, and radiating energy signatures that made their instruments scream warnings they couldn't understand. War Commander Thekvar's voice came over the communication channel again, but now it carried uncertainty along with arrogance. One ship. You think one human vessel can challenge 42 warships of the Imperial fleet? Your species truly is as foolish as we believed. Vasquez smiled coldly. Commander Chen, show them what one human ship can do when it stops being polite. Chen's hands moved over his weapons controls with practiced efficiency, firing quantum torpedoes. Target. The 3 heavy cruisers leading their formation. 3 streaks of blue-white energy shot from the Phoenix Rising toward the Kethvar fleet. The aliens immediately raised their shields and began evasive maneuvers, but it was completely useless. The quantum torpedoes passed through their defensive barriers as if they didn't exist and struck 3 massive cruisers simultaneously. The alien ships didn't just explode. They ceased to exist. In the space of 2 seconds, 3 of the most powerful warships in the Kethvar fleet became expanding clouds of elementary particles. Their thick armor, their energy shields, their overwhelming firepower meant nothing against weapons that attacked matter at the quantum level. The remaining Kethvar fleet stopped advancing. War Commander Thekvar's voice came over the radio, no longer filled with laughter. Impossible. Our shields were at maximum power. How did your weapons penetrate them? Vasquez didn't bother to answer. Instead, she nodded to Dr. Al-Rahman. Doctor, demonstrate our gravitational technology. Target their destroyer screen. Gravitational lance firing. Captain. An invisible beam of focused space-time distortion struck the center of the Kethvar destroyer formation. Suddenly, the fabric of space itself began to bend and twist. The alien ships found themselves pulled toward an artificial gravity well that crushed their hulls like empty containers. Their engines strained desperately against forces that no conventional technology could resist. 6 destroyers were compacted into a sphere of twisted metal barely 10 meters across. The gravitational distortion lasted only seconds, but when it ended, 6 warships had been reduced to a ball of super-compressed debris. Now the Kethvar fleet was trying to escape. Their surviving ships turned away from the refugee convoy and began accelerating toward the edge of the system, but they were far too slow to outrun human technology. "Don't let any of them escape," Vasquez ordered. "Chen, use the pulse cannons to disable their engines. I want them alive to carry a message back to their empire." The Phoenix Rising's pulse cannons fired precisely targeted bursts of coherent energy. Each shot was calculated to disable propulsion systems without destroying the ships entirely. One by one, the fleeing Kethvar vessels found themselves drifting helplessly in space, their engines dead and their crews trapped. War Commander Thekvar's ship was the last one still moving. Vasquez could see on her tactical display that the alien commander was desperately trying to send a message to his home fleet, but Torres was jamming all their long-range communications. "Kethvar Commander," Vasquez said calmly, "this is your final opportunity to surrender. Your fleet is defeated, and your weapons are useless against our technology." Thekvar's voice came back, filled with rage and desperation. "This is impossible. Humans are weak. You're supposed to be cowards who flee from superior forces. How do you possess weapons like these?" Vasquez's voice became as cold as the vacuum of space. "You made a fundamental error, War Commander. You assumed that because humans prefer diplomacy, we must be incapable of warfare. You confused our choice to avoid fighting with an inability to fight effectively." She paused, watching the last Kethvar ship drift helplessly on her screen. "We tried to negotiate with your empire. We offered humanitarian aid to the victims of your war. You rejected our help and began murdering our civilians. Now you're learning what happens when you force humanity to abandon diplomacy." The final Kethvar ship stopped moving, its engines disabled by precise human weapons fire. War Commander Thekvar and his crew joined the thousands of alien warriors who had discovered that underestimating humanity was the last mistake they would ever make. "Torres, restore their long-range communications," Vasquez ordered. "I want them to be able to contact their leadership." "Communications restored, Captain." "War Commander Thekvar, you and your surviving crews are going to carry a message back to both the Kethvar Empire and the Zolthak Confederation. Tell them that humanity is no longer willing to watch alien species slaughter innocent people while claiming superiority." Vasquez walked to the center of her bridge, addressing not just the defeated alien fleet, but the entire galaxy that would soon learn of this encounter. "Tell them that we tried peace and were rejected. Tell them that we offered help and were dismissed. Tell them that when they began targeting our civilians, they crossed a line that should never have been crossed." She paused, letting her words carry across space to every listening alien commander. "Most importantly, tell them that what happened here today was not humanity at full strength. This was humanity showing restraint. We could have destroyed every ship in your fleet in minutes, but we chose to leave survivors so that the truth could be told." Dr. Al-Rahman looked up from her science station. "Captain, I'm detecting quantum signatures from both alien empires. It appears they're sending their most powerful fleets to investigate what happened here." Vasquez smiled. "Let them come." Today the galaxy had learned that there was a new power among the stars, one that combined technological supremacy with moral strength. The alien empires could bring their largest fleets and their most advanced weapons, but they would find that humanity had advantages they couldn't even imagine. "Set course for Earth, Chief Kowalski. I believe Admiral Harrison will want a full report on today's activities." As the U.S. Phoenix Rising turned toward home, the disabled Kethvar fleet began transmitting desperate messages to their leadership. Soon, every military commander in both alien empires would know that humans were not the weak, primitive species they had believed. The war between the Kethvar and Zolthak continued to rage, consuming worlds and destroying civilizations. But now there was a third power in the galaxy, one that fought not for conquest or glory, but for the protection of innocent life and the principles that made civilization worth preserving. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as guardians, and the aliens who had dismissed them as insignificant insects were about to learn that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from the desire to destroy, but from the determination to protect.